Assalamu alaikum. Today I'll be explaining my full mean stack app using MongoDB, Express.js, Angular, SJS, and all the state management using NGRX. First, I'll start with demonstration of the app as I will do a login, and I'll start by signing up using a new account. You have some of the information, have some sort of requirements, should be at least 6 characters long. On the register, and redirected to the sign-in page and get a message to be saying that I was registered successfully. And I can see that the user is saved in the backend here. So I will log in using the same information with the wrong one. So wrong password. Also, I will get something called login attempts to be increasing in the backend here. And if it does get reach 3, my account is going to get locked here. Did get locked. Here. I will just reset this. I will register using a new account here. Register. And I will sign in with the correct requirements. Here I'll be direct to the profile page and have a message. Also, I would get a token, save it to the local storage here. It's a token for the validation if a user is signed in or not for 8 hours. Also, I would be able to see my user profile, some of the information as my full name, email, and some of the protected data lists. It's only available for the user who are logged in and have access to the profile page. By clicking log out, I will be deleting the token in the local. But first, let's demonstrate where I can just enter here using the token here. I can be directed to the profile page if I'm signed in and the token is available. I will log out to delete the token, and if I try to access the same page, I will redirect to the sign in page. Okay, so let's say I forgot the password and I wanted to reset it. I will click reset password, and it's gonna send me a link here where I do get the chance to see the messages sent using the mailer, sorry. I will get a link and it's going to redirect me to the password reset page, and it is also going to create a token on the backend here. It's a reset token which is available for only 1 hour after the user requires it, and does expire in 1 hour. Yeah, so I use this to be sent the email, also to create the link for some certain profiles. I will make a new password here. I'll reset it, and it is reset successfully, and it's gonna reroute me to the sign-in page. I will sign in using the same old password. It's not gonna let me as the password has been updated. And when I try to sign in with the correct credentials, it's going to let me in. This is for the demonstration. So let's start with the walkthrough. First of all, with the backend. Here I had DTO for the backend for the forget password functionality. It does tells if the email is required, validate it, and the same here for the sign-in page. Also, it does say for the email for the sign-in to be filled and fill the full credentials requirements. Also, the same for the sign up, but with the minimum length of 6. Here I have the JWT payload for the interface. Also here I have the controller for the endpoints in general. I start with API, and then I have an endpoint for the sign up, sign in, the protected data, also forget password, and also my reset password, and how can I handle some sign up errors here. So that happened, or sign in errors. Also, how can I get user profile endpoint here using the JWT auth card for the token. Here I did initialize the JWT token, and where it does expire in 8 hours. It is also in the .env folder file, and here we have the auth service for the sign up, how to create user, and also for the sign in, and also some sort of validation if the emails are registered, and how did I look for using the email. And here I did add something else for the login attempts. If the account has more than 3, it's going to get locked. Here where I do verify the password, and I do reset login attempts if a successful login happens. Let's say, for example, I did use a wrong password, and back in the database I will have one login attempt, and when I use the correct password, the login attempt is going to reset to 0 again. Here. So here I have the auth card, and I did here where I do return after a successful sign-in, and an access token and the user information. Here where I do handle the forget password logic. First I do check if the user is exist or not, and then I send them the link. Here I do generate it using crypto. I set the expiry time for 1 hour, and also here I do have the sent reset email to the user. Here I have the template. I have this one, and I send it with the reset URL as well. And then I do output a message where it says password reset email sent, and I save it here. Here where I save it, the token at the backend for each user, and I handle the logic here to validate first if the token is not expired or invalid, and then I do validate for the password to be +6 characters, and then here at the end I do update the password and clear the reset token. I delete it from the backend, and then I do output a message says the password has been reset successfully. Here I have the strategy for the JWT, and here I have the schema for the user, where I define user schema like a full name, email, password, login attempts, and reset password, which is optional, and reset password expired, which is optional as well, which is also token. And yeah, here I do hash the password before saving and try and catch for each or any error possible. Yeah, I do have like some products requirements when I was doing the dummy data for the products. I have the products schema, and I have the controller module service. Here where I was uploading the products to the backend if there's no products available in the backend. This is the template for the email I send to the user after they request to reset their password, where I do include also URL with the token. Here on the user service, I do handle all the services for the user. First, starting by finding user by email when they log in, or finding them by ID, where I also create a new user and check if it exists or not, and where I do the increasement for user by email itself for the people who enters the wrong email, and I do reset, update user detail, update password for user after they do reset password, and I set a new one, and I do look for to validate the token with the user at the backend. I do look by token itself. I find it by the token, not by the email. Also, here I have the email module for the email, and here I have the main TS where I used to send or like launch the app locally as it is now, upload it to Firebase for the front end here, and I did upload the backend on G-Cloud. Also here I have the user model where I do save or like pre-save the password and like ensure like make sure that the email is lowercase for more accurate validation, and check if the password if it is modified or not, and how to like how where I can just generate the bycrypt code. This is it for the backend, and let's move to the front end.
Okay, so here for the front end, sorry, I had an issue with the camera, so I had to change my computer. So I'll continue explaining from the front end. So for the front end here, we have the forget password form, and here we have the logic for the TypeScript file for the forget password. Here I do handle the form submission, and I do send the post request to the backend to either get like email or a message, or also to get redirected to the sign-in page after just being successfully sent. Here the same for the sign-in page. I have this is for the user profile page where I do output the user information and also the protected data list. Here where I do handle how can I load the user profile, the information like full name, email, and this stuff. And if I have an error, I do some error handling. And here I do load the protected data from the backend using the token that and the local storage here. And I do fetch the protected data from the backend depending on the URL that I have, and I send a GET request. And here also for the logout button where I do logout and also delete the token. Here I have the login form, and where I do handle the logic. Here I have handled the logic for form submission, to call the authentication service to the backend, and how can I check and sign in successfully, and then to be directed to the profile page and to generate the token to the local storage. And if something happened, also here I do some sort of error handling on the front end. Here I have registration form where I do sign up. Here I have some better validation and not a validation, like some to fill the requirements. And here I have the logic where I do handle the how can I handle that and send it to the backend. Here I have to make a reactive form for registration, have some pattern for the email, where I handle the submission logic, and then there to the sign-in page after a successful registration. And here I have the getters for form control. Here I have the reset password form. Here I have better some just simple form as I showed you, and here is the logic behind it, where I do first, after I do get the token from the URL query, and I do like confirm that it is valid and it's not missing, otherwise there's an error. And here I do handle the form submission. I validate the form and make sure that passwords are matching, and make sure that the token is not invalid. Also, here I send the post request to the backend on this URL, and then output a simple message to the user. Here I have the interface for the user, and here I have the auth service, where I do send to the backend on the URLs, and also using the base URL here at the environment folder, as here the URL for the backend, as it is all published online. Here I do make sure that the password are matching. It is like a shared file. And here I have the user service, where I do interact with the backend APIs, where I do register a new user, like log into an existing one, and get user profile information, and get the token, delete the token from the local storage after sign out, or even the expiration times. It does automatically expire the JWT token, and if there is no token, there will be no automatically sign in, and will be as if I'm logged out. And here I do check if the user is authenticated, and then here we do get the product data or the products that we have to the profile page for certain users. And here check if the user is logged in. And here I have the routes for the full project. And that's it for the project. Thank you for your time to listen and evaluate on my project. I really appreciate the chance to have the opportunity to work or have an internship at Penny. I really like the company. I have a lot of contribution with them. And thank you.